This is Dr. Ruben Chen, and welcome to the Vital Signs Podcast. Hi, this is Dr. Ruben Chen. Welcome to another Vital Signs Podcast. And today I have a very interesting guest who has a very unique background. And I think that from what I've read, this is going to be a very fun podcast and also very educational. So Ms. Clark, can you sort of give a little background about sort of who you are and what your specialty is?
Sure. First, thank you for inviting me today. I was looking forward to this too. And so what I currently do is run a company with 15 employees, and we are tasked with decluttering and organizing and packing and moving and doing hoarding remediation in Los Angeles County. And so most of our clients are in transition, or they're dealing with brain-based conditions, making it very challenging for them to deal with the activities of daily living, like clearing clutter and time management. And so it's a real challenge for a lot of people out there. So I've had my company for 13 years. Prior to that, I had finished a PhD in history, in women's history, 20th century women's history. And I had spent a good chunk of my adult life in pursuit of higher ed and then working in higher ed. And in June of 2008, I was laid off from my job. In June of 2008, I was in Jerusalem, spending some time with a good friend of mine. And while I was there, I said, Nadra, I don't want to be a tourist today. How about if I do your kitchen? And she's like, Habibti, what does that mean? And I said, Nadra, your girls are in their 30s. You got sippy cups in the cupboard. Just let me do what I do. So I did what I do. It was a good result. I get back to my desk at UCLA. And 1 week later, I learned that my unit was being dismantled, my position eliminated. I was out the door, and 60 days later, I'm recognizing we're in a recession. It was summer of 2008. And so I told Ronnie, my roomie, I'm going to organize until something better comes along, and nothing has. So I've grown a queendom out here, and it's been fantastic. I love my company. I love what we get to do. And in these years of being an entrepreneur and a business owner, when I was out in the field working with my clients, and I would be sitting on the floor talking with them about their clutter, and many of our clients are professional women between the ages of about 40 to about 70, 75. And they call me in because they're fed up with all the crap and clutter in their house. And they don't have, and the other adult in the household is not an equal partner in the workload. And it's mind-boggling to me. And so one day, early on as an organizer, so my title is a professional organizer, and early on in my role as an organizer, I would be sitting with these clients, and they're smart, brilliant women, high wage earners, very professional, but their houses are a cluster. And I remember having a conversation with somebody I'll call Sylvia, and she was expressing a lot of shame and despair and anxiety about the state of her house. And she felt like bad mom and bad mother, bad mom and bad wife, because she felt that she was not doing a great job of upholding what I have come to understand as like
the role of
ideal womanhood
or something.
It's like it's this idea of the work of the household is seen as women's work, when you really don't need a vagina, right? You just need the work to get done. The work has to get done. Breastfeeding, pushing out a baby, maybe you need a woman, but other than that, you don't.
That's true. And that's
I know,
and that's
true.
why having two sets of parents at home is definitely beneficial for sure. But like
Only
you're
if both
saying, that you have to be able to uphold both ends of that contract there. I'm sort of curious. So is it the hoarding or the clutter that makes people depressed, or is it maybe underlying depression that causes that, or other things? I know that you also have some specialty in helping people with ADHD. I'm just sort of curious. I mean, what has been your experience?
Well, in order for you and I to get to this call on time at 1 o'clock, we are, or whatever, your time is 3 o'clock.
Yep.
To get to the call on time, it's because the executive function part of our brain is working.
Mm-hmm.
We, right before I logged on, the phone rang. I knew not to answer it because I had this call right now. I had to meet with you. It was my executive function making that decision for me. I know that I'll be able to call that person back afterward. I didn't take the call and become late for you. All of that is happening within nanoseconds. And what the executive function of our brain does, and I think of my executive function as a smart woman in a business suit with a briefcase, getting Regina everywhere she needs to go, all day, every day, on task, on time. Our executive function allows us to do tasks in a timely way, to stay emotionally managed. For example, I look at in Los Angeles, every street has a public storage unit.
Right.
I call it the land of emotional mismanagement. It's the land of, I think I may need this someday. It's the land, but these were my grandmother's dishes. So when you have a fully functional operating executive function, you would say, well, I'm not going to use this someday because if I need to use it, I'll be able to substitute or replace it. The executive function keeps us emotionally managed in terms of we don't live in fear. We're not holding on to things because of who gave it to us. We're holding on to things because they happen to fit our decor. They happen to really have special meaning. The executive function is processing, planning, linear, sequencing, time managed, emotionally managed. There are about 6 conditions or behaviors attached to our executive function. And the executive function, in many respects, is the newest part of the human brain. The oldest part of the human brain is what we think of as the fight or flight brain. It's the limbic system, it's the amygdala located in the limbic system. And so when I think of the early brain, so I think of the early human, and I think of Maya, the cave woman, and she wakes up in the morning and she looks out the cave and she sees a beautiful, soothing body of water. And her amygdala is like, doesn't have the language to describe that. The amygdala is informing Maya, nice water, go on in. She can also step out of her cave and see a Brontosaurus Rex. And the amygdala doesn't have the language for Brontosaurus Rex, but the amygdala says, get out of here. It's the fight or flight. So as we evolved and we see the executive function come online, folks who are dealing with depression, anxiety, ADHD, major life changes, marriage, death, divorce, cancer, these major life changes and disruptions in life will often find even the most organized person hijacked by the amygdala. But depression, anxiety, ADHD, Parkinson's disease, any type of neurological condition, hell, shingles will get your executive function offline because it's so painful. When your executive function isn't working on all systems, chances are really, really good you're going to have clutter. In order to not have clutter, you need to know how long it takes you to do things. You need to know how long. So if you're going to sit down and work at your desk and you want to clear your desk, your executive function gives you the information of how much time do you think you need. My executive function is usually operating on all pistons. So it would take me 2 minutes to clear my desk right now because I'm always in a state of clearing my desk. I take it out, I put it in. That's executive function talking. I am not easily distracted. When I sit down to do a task, I pretty much stay on task. Folks with clutter, smart, professional, really, really good at their work, cannot hang up their clothes. Tedious, mind-numbing, irritating. They would rather do what they're best suited at. They'd rather feed their creativity or their artistry. They'd rather look at kittens on Facebook. They don't want to engage with that which they don't like, don't want to do, or don't know how to even get started on it.
Wow.
It's fascinating to me.
That is actually really fascinating how you're described that. So I guess most people's impressions of people who have clutter are just lazy people, but these aren't lazy people. These are people that they don't like to do maybe what they consider mundane tasks, but they're able to be lawyers or doctors or something else. And they just have a hard time just sort of settling down. Is that what you're saying?
Yes and no. The tasks in and of themselves are often easy, but they require a particular cognition in your brain. It requires planning, processing, and if these are tasks that you just, who likes to do laundry? I know some people do. I know some people do, but if the tasks have to be done, not being done because you like them, if you enjoy the task, the chances are very good you will do the task or you'll be good at the task. But if you don't enjoy it or you don't understand your relationship with time, because I think of laundry as this, it's not laundry, it's sort, wash, dry, fold, put away. There are 5 tasks associated with this idea of laundry, and the tasks have to be performed in a linear way. So if your executive function doesn't give you, doesn't allow you for linear thinking, for planning and sequencing and timing, I personally do not believe in the concept of lazy. I always think there's something that you don't want to do. And because
that's true,
most people I observe aren't really curious, they don't seem to really ask a lot of questions of themselves. Why didn't I activate? And what we do is we say, I'm lazy, instead of, well, see if you could go a little deeper. Just see if you could go a little deeper without judging yourself or resenting yourself or labeling yourself, because lazy is a label. How can we be mindful, do some introspection without labeling, judging, or resenting, but being curious and being curious about our habits, being curious about how we're wired. I have a lot of clients that will say, I was diagnosed with ADHD, or I think I have ADHD. I said, well, what have you learned about it? How is it that you don't know more than you know?
Yeah,
because
that's true.
it would help explain why you're in this mess.
Is there a line between, because I noticed they used words like clutter. Is there a line between, say, like a messy bedroom or hoarding? I mean, what is there a line there, or is that sort of like a gradual as people go from one to hoarding or something like that?
No, from what I understand, people who hoard are born with a brain wiring that they'll be predisposed to it. It's not, it's definitely executive function challenges. So for example, a lot of people with ADHD, I'm going to speak very generally, a lot of people with ADHD tend to be chronically disorganized. I describe them as folks that were born with a brain type that they've never felt like they could get together. They were the kid that the parents sent into the room, clean your room, and you go into the room and you're like, la, 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 la. I hate this. I don't want to do this. I'd rather draw and color, right?
Yeah.
You'll probably increase the likelihood of success in clearing your room if a parent hung out in the room with you while you did those tasks. Tell the stories about why, people with a hoarding disorder, yes, they are chronically disorganized, but they also have a very low insight as to what's happening. It's as if they literally do not see what I see. So for example, I was in a house and there was this wall of paper and books. I mean, it was coming out to the hallway so that we only had like a 2-foot pathway in the hallway. And I'm standing there with the guy and I point to the wall. I say, what do you see when you look at this? Because I just saw a bunch of junk. And he says, oh, a lot of those books I need for renewing my certifications. And I saw dated material. So he didn't see what I saw.
Wow.
I worked with one guy and we had pulled down, we had gathered up all the drinking glasses in his apartment. And I said, we're going to put the drinking glasses here. Let's grab the best 10, get your best 10. So I'm turned around doing something else and the client is doing this. I turn back around. He's got the best 10 blue ones, the best 10 tall ones, the best 10 juice glasses. And I thought, wow, here's this small space. So he didn't see it. He was not cognitively able to align with that. People who hoard, the hoarding illness is right up there in severity with psychosis.
Because they see something completely different than reality.
And they live with other people. And, it's like you tell the alcoholic, just stop drinking.
Right.
It's a physiological, psychological, cognitive challenge. So people who hoard.
So this is way more than just leaving things lying about. There's something going on that probably requires some therapy and some other things to help them.
Yeah, there is no cure per se. And on some point, I think hoarding had become medicalized along the way. And a lot of people that I've worked with a hoarding disorder, left to their own devices, they would feel that just leave me alone, but they'll get cited by city code enforcers, or their adult children won't let grandchildren come over because it's too unsafe.
Right.
There aren't many clinicians that will engage in working with clients because of the frustration of the no cure. Anti-anxiety medication, anti-depression medication may help. Good cognitive behavioral therapy would help. But again, those are solutions that need to be utilized over time. It's never a one and done. It's chronically disorganized folks, it's never a one and done. My team can go in and declutter and clear and organize every space. But unless the person's habits, behaviors, their relationship to the stuff, to their environment, unless all of that undergoes a sea change, they will continue the behaviors that brought the organizer in the first place.
So if somebody is a messy person or a hoarder, or if somebody knows somebody that has that situation, what are your recommendations? Because it sort of sounds like somebody who is chronically hoarding or has this sort of cluttering issue, it's very difficult to get around. But having a clean environment, I definitely believe, makes you feel better as a person. So what are your recommendations for that?
Curiosity. What is it that brought this? I mean, again, I have a magic wand, but it doesn't always work. And
right.
It's like I ask people all the time, why haven't you been able to activate on your desire to clear this space? Most people don't know. Most people are not in tune with how their brain is wired. So really, to get started is to become curious about how you move through your space, how you move through your world. How do you define what you love? But I love everything. I need all of this. Let's drill down and see. I mean, it may be that you're right, but let's become curious as to even why you're even saying that.
Yeah. I know I like to keep things. I'm horrible because I always keep what I consider records. And I always feel like, I need to keep this just in case I need it for the future or something, right? And so, my wife will frequently go through these files of papers, and I'll think, maybe I'll need this for something in the future. And she says, it's been a couple of years. I don't think that future is coming. And then we'll just throw it away. And then at the time, I'll feel, I don't know if that was a good idea. And then as soon as it's gone, I feel lighter inside. So every once in a while, we just go through and literally just shred papers. And we've gone through multiple shredders, just sort of ripping things up. But it's, I don't know how to explain it, but definitely feels somewhat therapeutic to just get stuff gone and away from your life. It's sort of odd, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's for some people, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things also is that, and you've written a few books, and you have a new one coming out, and it's got a very interesting title to it. Do you want to explain your book that's coming out?
Are you sure you want to get on this topic?
I think it's fun. Yeah, go ahead.
It's called, so the book I just published is called Emotional Labor: Why a Woman's Work is Never Done and What to Do About It. And it begs the question, what the hell is women's work and why the hell is it never done?
Right. No, because I was talking about it, something similar with my sister. We were watching with our kids the Incredibles movie, and it's sort of interesting. In the Incredibles, every person in that family has like a superpower that sort of represents their personality, right? So Mr. Incredible is just like this big, strong guy, and their son is just, obviously has ADHD and just sort of spinning around, and the daughter sort of feels like she's invisible, but the mom is really outstretched, like trying to wrangle in the whole family. And that's sort of the mindset, I think, that a lot of women have on their shoulders. They feel like they have to be 10 people at once, outstretched, trying to do everything. Your kid's secretary, you have to be a housekeeper, and you also have to make sure there's peace in the home. I mean, there's like so much stuff. So can you sort of describe sort of what are, I mean, why did you decide to make this book, and sort of what are the principles behind it?
I wrote the book because I was sitting with too many female clients, awesome professional women, super smart, but they seem as though they were looked at through the lens of the womb. Meaning, because they're female, because they have the vagina,
Right.
there's this belief system that to the man are born, that this is women's work. If you were to use this, if you were to say the term men's work, what is men's work? The chances are very, very good that it would have nothing to do with the household.
Right.
Much. You say women's work, it's all about the household. You say men's work, it's the public sphere. You say women's work, it's the private sphere. I don't get that. I don't get that, because we're about to see another woman nominated to the US Supreme Court. That could be women's work.
Yeah.
So I guess I had reached a level of frustration hearing these brilliant women talk about their shame in the condition of their home, that they just weren't measuring up to what is ideally called women's work, household man. I mean, it's really household management. It's not women's work, it's household management. You know,
right.
We got to manage the household. So I put on my, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I can understand this. So my mom is a medical doctor, and she also was the president of Sunrider International, which is the company that this podcast is affiliated with. And now the CEO of the company is my sister. And it is tough, because I remember my mom trying to do, literally keep a company afloat, along with keeping her family afloat at the same time. And I see my sister going through similar conflicts, how to go to a business meeting, and then how to also make sure that her kids are going to school on time, and when are they going to get picked up and attend like a dentist appointment, which is sort of nuts. And I don't know. I definitely, I mean, I guess as a brother, I feel like, man, I hope her husband is doing more, and he's a good guy, and he does a lot. And so, but I mean, I can see that conflict, because partly I think my sister wants to be there. It's not that she doesn't. She wants to be a mom, but then she also wants to do good at her job, and that is big conflict. It's not like she doesn't want to do these things. She wants to spend time with her kids, and
but she shouldn't. I mean, I'm not clear why the weight of the household is also on her shoulder. I don't get that, and I think, well, what the hell is marriage? I'm being very serious. What is a partnership? I hear that all the time, but he's such a good guy. He's such a good dad. Don't you need a great equitable partner? I mean, so for me, it's a very holistic thing. I think it's great that you're a good guy, but I mean, I had this one couple, like why I wrote the book. I'm sitting there in their living room, and she called me in, and she is just filled with anxiety, shame, despair. She was so upset about the condition of the household. And so I went over there for a visit, and we're sitting on the couch, and I pointed to the dining room table that was filled with everything, laptops and pacifiers and, everything. It was a messy dining room table. And I pointed to the table, and I looked at her. I said, how does it make you feel when you see that? she's like, oh my gosh, I feel terrible. And it's, it just makes me so sad and depressed, and feels like every time I clean it up, it comes back. So I said to her husband, I said, how does it make you feel when you look at the table? What do you think he said? It doesn't bother me. And I think,
Yeah.
how is her pain not, how is it, I was like speechless. How does this not bother you? Aren't you bothered by her pain? I mean, I was shocked. And what does he say? And I said that. I said, what? I said, her pain, man, her pain. He goes, I wake up with the baby every night so that my wife can get her beauty rest. And I wanted to say, why does she need to be beautiful anyway? And what do you do the other 90% of the time? So
Right.
again, I don't understand why. I don't understand that. I accept that this happens in most households.
Yeah, I'll be honest though, that from a guy's point of view, sometimes we just don't see it. And it is true. And that's why I like your approach, is that, do you see your wife's pain? Because as a husband, I would want to help lessen my wife's pain. Even if I didn't notice it as much, I don't want my wife unhappy. And so if me cleaning up will make my wife happy, guys are maybe a little bit more linear. They'll just think like, okay, well, I want my wife happy. What are the things that I can do? And I think that's a good approach, is making the husband recognize the pain of the wife. Because sometimes guys really, I mean, if you see guys' apartments, and I have obviously lived in a few because I'm a guy in college and all that type of thing, these guys just don't see the mess. And
honestly, that's an executive function issue. It's not a guy issue. It's an executive function issue. And you're right. Noticing is a big skill. Noticing is a skill. And we continue to raise girls into women and boys into men, training one of them to have that noticing skill. So hands down, women are better at household work if they are also dealing with a functional executive function. But being better at it does not promote equity. And so what I encourage couples to do is to go into a separate room, write down everything they do for household management, everything they do. I don't care what it is, no filters, don't hold back, and then compare the lists. And then see what can be moved from one of the, because one list is going to be a lot longer than the other list. What can be moved from the longer list to the shorter list? How do you, and it's about anticipating what's coming up. It's anticipating when you have small children, who's going to have the talk about sex, who's going to do the driving, who's going to teach them how to drive, all of these. It's not just making a dental appointment, it's finding the right dentist so your child won't be afraid, so you have the right, it's like, it's all of these visible and invisible tasks that go on to create a functioning and happy household. So yes, to your sister's point, the work of emotional labor and the work of the household, my gosh, if we didn't have it, we'd lose our humanity. We have to have it. I just don't think it needs to fall on the shoulders of one individual in the household.
Definitely shouldn't. I mean, especially as a father, I know that a lot of men, especially me, I get joy out of spending time with my kids and taking them to things. And sometimes I regret not being able to be there for them or to help them with things. And I think that trying to figure out that balance between that father and mother role and having more balance in the home, I feel like, especially for the dads, it would definitely help them gain maybe I wouldn't say like a new dimension, but a new kind of appreciation for what's in the home that they're spending so much time to develop. Because a lot of guys will think, well, my job is to make money for the home and keep it safe, but they don't know what they're fighting for. And being able to break it down, right? Like seeing your kids, taking them, I take my kids to a bunch of lessons, partly because I don't think my kids would do it if I didn't take them, but at the same time, it's fun to do it with them. So, and if you don't know what you're missing, you don't know what you're fighting for. So I think it's an important thing. I like that.
But to your point,
you
know, again, you are bringing up a binary that I don't think really exists. Man as breadwinner, woman as bread baker. Mm-hmm. I don't know that exists. If if every single full-time homemaker left the job that day, the entire economy would collapse. To replace a full-time homemaker is well over $150,000. So don't tell me that the primary wage earner is more important. Do you know what I mean? So no. Again, it's these.
I would actually venture to say that without the homemaker, society would collapse, not just the economy.
Right. So without household management, without emotional labor, without the physical labor, we would lose our humanity. It doesn't have to rest solely on the shoulders of women. So it actually has nothing to do with wages. It actually has to do with the work of the household.
This is going to be an interesting book for sure. I think that. So where can you find the book right now? Is it on Amazon?
It is.
Do you have like an Audible version, or is it just a book?
But my goal is to have it Audible by the end of the year. I have a great.
Are you gonna?
Yeah, I recorded my.
Are you reading it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. I like it when the author.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Okay. I like it when the author reads their own book, because obviously it's your labor of love, and it's always nice to hear the voice of the author in it. So, wow. So how do people learn more about you and follow you? Where can they find more information about you?
So for my organizing life, it's aclearpath.net. And for my book and speaking life, it's reginalark.com.
Wow. So one thing that I can see is that you've got a lot of passion for organizing, which is it's just sort of it is a very interesting area, and I feel some people don't realize how much emotion and thought process is in that, and then also your experience between the pressures that women are under, trying to maintain that home management is definitely something I think every family should think about. So I hope everybody is able to go out and check out the book. Can you repeat again the name of the book?
It's called Emotional Labor: Why a Woman's Work is Never Done and What to Do About It.
All right. Awesome. All right. Well, Regina, thank you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for a very energetic and lively discussion. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in for this Vital Signs podcast. And also, if for those of you who are also interested in our Sunrider products and Sunrider opportunity, you can check it out at www.sunrider.com. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. All right. Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye.
You too. Bye.
This is Dr. Ruben Chen, and I'll see you next time.